when you look at food as your fuel, and however much you love something, in fact, there's this thing, isn't there, that if you really, really love something, you're probably allergic to it and you're craving it.
Hello, I'm Karen Mellors.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Rosie Daniel.
You've just tuned in to Alive and Loving It, and we're here to help you bring joy and energy back to your life.
Today's guest is the wonderful Kit Stapley. Kit is a dear friend, a client from long ago, and as you're about to find out, a force of nature. So Kit survived an extremely severe lymphoma way back 30 years ago, and she went through 7 different rounds of chemo and was told by her medical doctors that there was nothing more that they could give her. She walked out of there and said, right, well, I better take charge and I better create a miracle. And indeed she did. She addressed every level of her health and well-being, particularly focusing on her nutrition, but a lot on having the most fun and laughter and vibrant life. That took her into the world of being a laughter therapist herself. She became a Mars and Venus therapist. She's more recently opened a complementary therapy clinic and is just a bundle of fun. So currently, Kit is working on her memoir about the miracles in her life, and it's going to be called You Sexy Thing. So with no further ado, please welcome the beautiful Kit.
Well, we are here. We made it to the very last episode of our first season of the Alive and Loving It podcast. What an absolute joy to spend the last 12 weeks with you all. It's been incredible. So many stories that have filled my heart with joy and with hope. And we've saved the best for last, haven't we, Rosie?
Yes, indeed. I think so. Welcome, dearest Kit, probably the most alive and loving it person I know, who you just embody joy and playfulness and, just all things brilliant and holistic, Kit. So we want to invite you to talk us through some aspects of your healing journey, which has been a long one. Because you had your lymphoma right back in 1992, and you told me that it was after 7 rounds of chemotherapy that your team said there's really no more that medicine can do, and that's really when your healing journey began.
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent point to begin on, that as a matter of fact, I have a book in the pipeline that I want to write, which I'm calling Komos, Captain of My Own Ship. And, I've recently had a mastectomy, which I've been holding off on having since 2017. And they've been going, have it. And I've been going, no. And I had to go really deeply into myself to figure out what my resistance was. And what I realized my resistance was, and that probably refers back to the very beginning of the lymphoma, was that my son really, really wanted me to have it. And when I said to him over Christmas, this last Christmas, how would you feel if I didn't have a mastectomy and I died of breast cancer? And he reacted so emotionally that I never got to ask my second question, which was, how would you feel if I had the surgery and I died under the anesthetic? So in the end, I realized that my resistance to Alex wasn't just about sort of proxy resistance to his father, who told me I had to have chemotherapy. There was no option. So I went through it, really being dragged through a hedge backwards. It was something that was done to me. I wasn't on board with it, and my body knew.
Well, that's wow. That really says it up. So this is a new acronym, COMOS. COMOS. Okay.
Captain of my own ship.
And you also told me after your first big healing from the lymphoma, with your amazing dry humor or black humor, that both the husband and the consultant who told you were crazy for going down the holistic route had passed away.
And two consultants. I had a New York oncologist who was, I mean, both my oncologists, we had amazing American health insurance. Both my oncologists were literally globally recognized oncologists. Ezra in New York had founded the Chemotherapy Foundation, which brought all oncologists together, and he discovered the use of chemotherapy for breast cancer, and he was, internationally known. And Len Price in London was also internationally known, partly because he'd had a heart transplant and was still walking around, which was really interesting, partly because he was a spectacularly lovely man, and partly because of his work. He developed something called the Price-Hill method of giving chemotherapy. Oh no, Rosie, you're nodding. You know about that?
Well, I've certainly heard about it, but I want to just go in with you, Kit, to learn about the keys to your healing. What you think have been, because this is 1992, is a long time ago, sweetheart. And
I was 40 and I'm an old age pensioner now.
Well, this is 2 cancers you've kicked in the butt, So it would just be so great to know your what you feel have been the keys. I know that you said to me that it was for you, there was first and foremost the soul question. Do I stay or do I go?
These all take a while to get, to get to. It's really, when I tell my story, one of the things is that I'm contracting so much incident. You go through so many dark nights of the soul and really, really challenging, difficult stuff. And you find out who you are, who you aren't. You try to go along with being who you aren't, but actually it's not a powerful place to be in because you're off balance when you're being who you're not. And facing up to so many of your terrors. But actually, I have an amazing list, which I only received in the last day or two, of the cancer profile character. And I tick almost every box. So part of it is having a poor self-image, which I do. I have a poor self-image because when I was young, A, I was always ill. B, when I had my tonsils out, which buggers your immune system, I then developed epilepsy and I was ADHD. So I left school thinking I was stupid, and that's fairly deeply ingrained with me. So you sort of confront all of those things as you go along. Another is overgiving, lack of boundaries, hello, tick, tick, tick. And I think that if you regard cancer, which I've worked through, I've been a health creation mentor under Rosie for over 20 years. And I realized that the prescient dream, or wasn't really a dream, I was in bed, but I was trying to get over having a cancer diagnosis when my son was 6 at the age of 40. And I felt massively punished by it. And I realized that I'd never get through it if I didn't sort of man up a bit. And so I did this guided visualization by a woman called Betty Shine, who wrote books on mind energy, which was going to the center of the universe and asking my question, which was, I need to know what I'm being punished for. What am I being punished for? And I repeated it like a mantra and sort of zoned out and calmed down. And when I zoned back in again, I was still repeating a mantra, but it had changed. It had become, and I have no idea why, quite emotional actually, remembering it. This is not a punishment. It's a gift and an opportunity.
Wow.
And if you think about your cancer diagnosis as a gift and an opportunity, can you see how the whole thing changes in an instant?
Well, what a very loving message and insight that you got given.
Yeah.
Whether we call that your higher self, your guardian angel, and Kit, you clearly made the decision to stay. You've put it that way to me, that you did feel you had a choice, and that you took the choice to stay.
I didn't necessarily feel I had a choice. I just knew with an absolute certainty that if I died, my son would be in prison by the time he was 18.
Oh, gosh.
So, well, I can't go. And then I looked at my options, not in any clear way like that, but I looked at my options and I went, well, the only viable option left to me is a miracle. So I want a miracle, please.
Gorgeous. So Karen, just wondering how this is landing for you, hearing Kit talking.
Well, I feel in awe, actually. I mean, as you were talking then and touched that tender place, Kit, that is still tender. After all this time and all the work you've done on yourself, it's still tender. And the courage that it took to go to it in the first place, but still the courage now it takes just to touch it very lightly and share it with us. I mean, deep, deep bow to you, love. It's deep, deep respect for that, because I think in exercising that muscle, in releasing that emotion, in knowing that it's there and being able to speak so eloquently about it, not only is it healing for you, it's healing for me sitting in this circle with the three of us. So I'm imagining that just rippling out, to people who it lands with, who are in a similar position, who might not have the courage by themselves to go there. Thank you, love. Deep respect for that.
Bless you. Thank you. Thank you really for saying that, because I actually am fighting this business that I think I have a sort of reservoir of tears that I actually can't make myself get rid of. And even as a laughter therapist, when I used to say to my clients, when you laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh, and you empty the bucket of all your stored laughter, because so many times in life we suppress our laughter, and then you empty that bucket, the energetic bucket, you start to cry because you get down to the tears. And the same thing happens in reverse, is when you cry and cry and cry and cry and cry, you wind up kind of sodden but laughing. And you get down to the stored laughter, and they're in the same bucket, but they're like oil and water.
Beautiful.
That's how we know we're alive, Kit. It's the whole experience of it, isn't it? Unfortunately, you can't just have the good without the bad. You can't have the laughter without the tears. And what I'm seeing is this beautiful, if you're not on YouTube, go and have a look at Kit and this beautiful radiance that's coming out of her in the most gorgeous jacket, which she's promised me after she's finished with it.
Well, I loved, you said to me, Kit, I was seeing myself on a stage with the spotlight of truth on me. So, that it sounds like you were really it really finding and exploring your truth on every level. And I know that meant ending the marriage you were in at the time, that was part of it that you mentioned. I mean, obviously you only go away wherever you want to go to share with us, but what was it about that relationship that felt wrong for you at the time?
It's a really interesting question. I think going back to this thing of never feeling good enough, that, I mean, Peter literally swept me off my feet. I mean, very, very not at all politically correct now. He took me to Paris on business. I worked for him and he seduced me, basically. And he was everything I wanted. He was really, so many answers to so many prayers. And he was wonderful. He was so funny. He was so glamorous. He was so kind of grounded. He knew all the things I don't know because I'm a quantifier kind of person. And he was I'm a qualifier. He was a quantifier. So he knew exactly how much to tip people with incredible savoir-faire, which I thought was so sophisticated and amazing. And he liked to take me out and dress me up. I mean, I was his Barbie doll, really, in so many ways. And so I was really happy to be that person. What I didn't realize was that I was giving myself away. I was betraying myself by being somebody I could play, but I wasn't that person. And whenever my inconvenient sort of objections came up, I squashed them and had another cigarette and a glass of champagne.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also mentioned to me that you had a friend who was a champion prayer.
Oh, bless her. Yes, I've known her. I mean, I can't remember not knowing her. I was born in Africa and I knew her in Africa, and we came back when I was 8 to this country. She, we sort of lost touch. She was in Zimbabwe, and I was in New York, and we met in London. And she told me she'd had this thing. She was married to a clergyman, and she was a very good. We shared a flat in London for a while, and she was, always off to church. She was always doing everything for everybody else. She's the most lovely person. And she said, I had this night where I absolutely knew that you were in real trouble and you needed praying for right away. And I sort of didn't think much of it at the time. And then I met her about a year ago, actually, again, and she told me again. And I began to sort of knit it into my narrative. And I said, I'd love to know more about that. So she said, yes. I got up, and first, I didn't even know you could do this. She said, I prayed by groaning. And I said, is that a thing? And she said, oh, yes. Yeah. And then she said, I spoke in tongues. And then I prayed on the conventional level of, don't let her die. Her parents, her son, her sisters, blah, blah, blah. So many people who love her. And so that's also a very powerful recollection, because I think that's one of the things that happens in the health creation program, is that the body, mind, and spirit, if the spirit's not included in the body and mind medicine, it doesn't take.
Yes, well, you do embrace all the dimensions, Kit, and you've clearly traveled around all these different aspects of yourself, including the hilariously funny and they're very saucy.
Can we know more about that, please?
Yeah, well,
cigarette. I mean, I always say that really I only have three, for most of my life, I only had three sort of genuine natural talents. And one was smoking. I mean, I just came naturally to me. And I remember in Africa when everybody's sitting around smoking and gin and tonics and charm bracelets and offering around cigarettes and then the whole little... I loved every bit of it. I couldn't wait to smoke. There's a story of me being discovered smoking at 2, but... Anyway, so that was one. And I was, I practiced for a day and I had the Dunhill lighter, one movement flick. I had it all down, and cigarette holders like that. I even had one cigarette holder that was a kind of normal, long actressy one. But that if there was somebody across the bar you wanted to give you a light, you had 2 more lengths you could stretch. So that was one. The other one was giving parties, and I really did give epic parties. It was my creative outlet, really, when I was living in New York. And the other one was lying down. I've always been amazingly gifted at lying down.
Marvelous. Well, I'm thinking of after you left your marriage, a certain advert that you put in a certain newspaper. Pray do tell.
Well, life was pretty absolutely awful, actually, in so many ways. Peter had moved out. He was waiting for his mistress to join him in London. And I got in the shower this day and I was bald. I had lines in my chest. And I thought, well, it's been really civilized. We promised each other we're going to have this really civilized divorce. But Susie's arriving in London today. And I have a feeling the road's going to get a bit bumpy. And what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And by the time I got out of the shower, I'd written it. And it said, why not come up and see me sometime when I've got nothing on but Radio 4? Modesty and space forbid a catalogue of my virtues, but be warned, if you're looking for a numerate, athletic partner, you will be disappointed. If not, why not reply? It could be fun.
And you got replies? Hundreds of them?
No, not quite 100. I got about 84, I think.
Oh, my goodness.
And that was hilarious. It got me through such a difficult time. And it really was hilarious. I mean, one of the answers, I used to ring my voicemail at the Times. This is a historical document. In the evening after I got Alex to bed. And I look forward to it all day. And I had one that made me laugh so much. It went, hello, Kit. My name is Clyde, and I live on the North Norfolk coast, and there's nothing I like better than a long walk on the beach and then coming home to a roaring log fire and a glass of jolly good Burgundy. And if that sounds like fun to you, you certainly sound like fun to me. And then this woman's voice went, hello? Hello? And his voice went a completely different octave. Oh, shit. And the phone went down.
Oh, sweetheart, what fun. And we've heard that you trained as a laughter therapist, so you took your love of humor and right up there. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, it was something I remember actually finding Norman Cousins' book. Have you ever come across that? An Anatomy of an Illness? In New York. I mean, some years before everything went a bit pear-shaped in my life. And I thought it was amazing, because laughter had got me through so many tight spots in my life. So when everything was falling apart, I was on a plane from New York, and in the airline magazine, there was an article about a chap called Dr. Madan Kataria, who was a physician in Mumbai, and he was given an article to write about laughter, the best medicine. So he did all his research, and he was so stunned by the results that he actually gave up his practice. He became an internationally known guru, and he traveled the world teaching people how to laugh.
Mm.
And I went, that's for me. I mean, I actually did a stand-up course as well, because I had been told by that same energy that told me about cancer being a gift and an opportunity. I had been told when I was having the stem cell transplant that my purpose on the planet was to increase the sum total of love and laughter. And I went, wow, well, that work's not done. I better stick around.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And I know you're working on a book right now, Kit. Tell us more.
Well, the book I'm writing at the moment is about miracles, and it's so interesting how many layers everything has. As I went into this miracle thing, I remembered that at the age of 23, I took an overdose and lay down to die. And I mean, there is no cure for suicidal tendencies better than being told you've got, non-incurable cancer.
Oh.
Suddenly, your energy goes, well, I'm going to live. I mean, there have been a couple of times since the diagnosis where I had a couple of episodes where, I'd have gone for it again. Quite extremist, but actually, and I think they'll be in my book, because my book is about miracles, but it's also about the membrane between life and death. Because when I was having chemotherapy one time, I almost died. I think I went into multiple organ failure, and the hospital called my husband and said, you better come, she's not going to make it through the night. But I did. But I did make it through the night, and I arrived back in a different hospital room to the one I'd been in. There was nobody else there. I was seeing visions of the Virgin Mary in blue lights all over the ceiling that had no external source. And it took me about 48 hours to fit my spirit back into my body and to reclaim, things like spelling, because I knew everything. And it was all so beautiful. So my journey, with cancer, but even pre-cancer, and the privilege of getting older is that you see circles join up, and so it's all beginning to make sense now, really.
Karen, I'm sure I can see lots going on for you.
Well, I'm deeply honoured to be part of this conversation, and I think one of the reflections that is feeling really, really strong with me at the moment is the power of choice. So in those times when you're in those dark places, Kit, and there was a choice, and you made a choice by what sounds like finding the next purpose, the next thing that became the reason to live. And then the strength of your will coming back. I'm really getting a sense of that. This, like, maybe you had to resource yourself, or maybe you just had to go to those depths. I've got an image of you going down to the bottom of the pool and then pushing back up again. And that will, but and it was so powerful. You come out of the pool like da-da, and that sort of that going through life of feeling the depths and then feeling the extreme highs and having the will to do that, but from a power of simple choice.
Yeah. And
something that is purpose to you, Wow.
Yeah. That dance as well, I'm hearing between soul and mind, or soul and emotions. That you've kept on managing to go deeper and find the soul energy, rekindle purpose, rekindle your passion. And now here you are. Tell us the title of your book. Go on, Kit.
It's called You Sexy Thing.
Absolutely fabulous. And when can we expect to see it?
Oh, it's been years already in the making, because so much of my process of doing this is literal distillation. It's digging down into the stories, which are mostly sort of fun and hilarious, and figuring out what their essence is. And I've been writing this, including with lovely Roger and Carol, for years and years and years. And I'm now a member of something called the London Writers Salon, which you write at 8 o'clock in the morning. And just today there was a thing that somebody said, I'm trying not to hate my novel. And there was this heartfelt thing that you do, in this process, you're going, well, I'm going to also so much trouble and nobody's going to be interested. And I'm probably a load of twaddle anyway. And let's just stick it in a folder and get on with life, So I'm hoping that my dream publisher is Hay House, because literally Louise and her book, You Can Heal Your Life, helped me to overcome the death sentence that the doctors had given me. So I became a Heal Your Life teacher. And so that would be my dream. But if you get picked up by a publish house, even if it's your dream one, they say it takes about 2 years to get into print.
Not so long anymore, I don't think. But
well, you can go and get it printed yourself on Amazon.
Yeah, but darling, I'm sure they'll be lining up to print your amazing story, and I can't wait personally. Please put me on the preview list.
I'd love to.
We started this theme of 3 episodes talking about food and nutrition, and I know that food has played a huge role in your journey. And you've, again, that will of yours that Karen's mentioning, I've seen you over many, many, many years taking very clear and strong approaches to your diet, and different ones at different times. Yeah. So just to conclude, could you maybe just, so that we're just slightly on theme, tell us about the role of...
I never fit neatly into boxes.
No, thank God, Kit. That's why we love you. Yeah. So yes, how do you feel about food these days?
I love food. I always had. That was one of my very early talents, actually. And I got praise for it because my older sister didn't like food and I loved it. And I'm lucky that I love vegetables and always have. But there's very few things that I don't love, actually, to tell you the truth. But I think it's a bit like, I drive an old Morris Minor.
I do.
And when I first got it ran on fuel that isn't even sold in the petrol stations, and you had to go and get that. And I think that to me is really key, is that when you look at food as your fuel, and however much you love something, in fact, there's this thing, isn't there, that if you really, really love something, you're probably allergic to it and you're craving it. Is that right, Rosie?
Well, I think when I'm like that with cheese, and I think I love it, but I think it's because it sedates me because I'm allergic to it. So, I think there's something about that, that we like foods that calm us and quell our anxiety. Yeah. But so there's something in that.
So I think that's why I would say my diet had changed over the years, is because if you drive an old car, and frankly, darlings, I am driving a very old car these days, not just the Morris Minor. If it's not operating correctly, in an old car, you can get a bloke with a spanner who can find out what's the matter with it. You don't need a computer panel to plug it into. And I think our bodies are like that. If it's not giving you the kind of performance you're looking for, and if, you're backfiring a lot, and I think that's a wonderful image, there's something you need to look into, So
no, well, I have seen you, at parties and events where there's been, riches of many, many types, and you sticking steadfastly to your no sugar and your vegetables or your paleo or whatever you've been doing at the time. And personally, we've said in this series that there's so many contradictory approaches. But one of the things I know about strong regimes is that it creates a state change, and that shocks the body, or it tricks the body, or it moves the energy. And you've been absolute mistress of that. And as you know, I have so much respect for you and just for your journey and the healing. So let's just give the last word to darling Karen, hearing all of this.
Well, officially now in love with Kit, definitely. You are my new hero. I just want to thank you so much for sharing so deeply. And I remember you saying that somebody said to you it was a gift, and what you've just done is shared that gift with us, Kit, and it makes me feel really tender to know that you've been through that journey, difficult. You make choices to laugh, and you make choices to find purpose and meaning in life. And now you've come on here and you've shared that with us. And that's the intention for this podcast, is that those messages and that energy and that power of choice can ripple out and touch as many people as we can. So thank you, dear Kit, for that.
Yeah. Bless you.
Well, thank you both for being so receptive to me being so all over the place.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Alive and Loving It. We really hope that today's conversation has sparked your passion and shown you ways to open up into the vibrant life that's possible for you.
Absolutely, Rosie. I mean, we have to remember transformation begins with love, and that's self-love, love for others, and love for our beautiful planet. When you embrace love and you just allow yourself to receive as much as you give, you unlock the fullest potential of your life.
That is the truth, and we're here to support you every step of the way on your journey. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, please join our community, check out our trainings and our services and the events where we can all go deeper together. And do please send us your feedback. We want to hear your ideas for the podcast, who you'd like to see us interview, the questions you want to ask, and get answered through the contact page on our website, aliveandlovingit.org.
I can't wait to read them. And when you're there, be sure to sign up for our newsletter and updates. And what about following us on Instagram as well? We are at Alive and Loving It Community. Once you've signed up to the newsletter, you'll receive extra notes from today's show and more inspiration to help you live your most vibrant life.
Thank you for being with us.
Keep shining, stay true to yourself, and remember, this is your time to live your fullest, healthiest life.
So until next time, keep doing what you love most in life. I know Rosie and I will be, always. We're so excited to connect with you on the next episode of Alive and Loving It. And we welcome you with open hearts to our Live and Loving It community.